You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Anna. I'm here with another one of your hosts, Paul, and today we are here to talk about, it turns out, kind of a trendy game, if you could call any classic games trendy, because this particular game is coming out free with Amazon Prime this month. So by the time it rolls out, is it going to be too late for you to download it? No, you might still have a few more days. No, it'll be too late. Oh, well. Anyways, the point is, it's a free game this month, and if you had gotten it from Amazon Prime, it would be fun. And that game is Sam and Max Hit the Road, which is the first Sam and Max game that came out after a myriad of other Sam and Max comics and shows and all sorts of other things.
Yep, those are all facts. I like your fact about the free game thing. It's almost useful information, which is my favorite kind. I love when it's just so close to being really, useful. But yeah, it was free and now it's not. It's your own fault for not listening to this before it came out, I guess.
But that's, if you're listening to a podcast about classic stuff, we're not going to give you current information that's actually going to be actually relevant. We're going to give you information that was relevant at one point. So I really feel like we're accomplishing what we're supposed to here.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's a classic podcast. This game was on sale. It was 25% off at Babbage's in the fall of 1992. I'm sorry if you're getting this a little late, but there was a sale on Sam & Max at Babbage's.
Actually, I just got, I used to have the LucasArts Archive Volume 3 when I was younger, and about 15 years ago, on a genius move, I recycled the box and kept the CDs, which I still have. Ooh. Okay, but a good ending to this horrible story is a storage locker on the mainland near where I live. I'm in Victoria, that's in Vancouver. Somebody didn't pay their bill, and one of the items they had up for sale for $10 was the LucasArts Archives Collection Volume 3, and I literally just got it in the mail 2 days ago, and it is just so good to have it back in my hands again. And that collection, the reason I'm bringing it up is it has Sam and Max Hit the Road in it as one of the games.
Yeah, I'm wondering if anybody else listening right now has in the back of their head, I thought I knew what BC and Vancouver looked like on a map, but it didn't at all look like an island. So how are you on mainland, right?
Well, yeah, there I'm on the island, but the game was on the mainland. It's a beautiful island all the way on the west coast of Canada, and it has nothing but water on one side and nothing but the rest of British Columbia on the other. So it's pretty awesome.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we try and throw in a couple free fun facts about Canada every episode starting now. That's the thing we do.
A game like Sam and Max does that. And you know what? When they're doing it, they drop down a little sign and it'll flash and it'll say edutainment. And then it'll tell you all about, say, John Muir or something. So that's what we're all about. We're just, we're playing off the game. The game's playing off of us. We're teaching you things. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, you're right. The game did accidentally teach me just a lot about Mr. Muir.
Yeah, it did.
I said Mr. Muir because I lost confidence that his name was John for a second. It was, okay.
I think I have a book of his somewhere in the house and, nature. And then I have the room of animal heads and they're all telling you about it. And it's great. This game comes in running. It breaks the fourth wall essentially right away when you jump into the game. And it does a great continuation of the intro. You have kind of a story and a plot, and then you end up with the robot's head, and then you go back to your office even after the intro's done, and you just kind of casually throw it out the window. It's got the bomb or whatever, right? And it's
that's one of my favorite lines. One of my favorite lines in the whole game is that line where he's like, "Yeah, just throw it out. It's just a bunch of strangers out there." Or something like
just
that.
A bunch of strangers out there. That's okay. There's nobody we'd like out there. Nope, doesn't matter. Everything, the sense of humor. And we're going to learn a little bit more about where, these characters came from and why the sense of humor is geared that way later on in the show, I'm assuming, Paul. But the sense of humor is really, it's quirky and it's bright and it's funny and it's unexpected. And you can't even who's the good guy? Sam and Max, right? Like both of them are sassy troublemakers in their own way. They use each other and they work with each other. I mean, they've got such a cool relationship between the two of them. The dynamic is really, it's a unique dynamic. Even just like the way that they walk around and they follow each other, and like, okay, Max is like doing something crazy over here while Sam's having a conversation over here, but like there's two kind of little stories happening at the same time, and I love the game for that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You put that really well because the who's the good guy line, because they I can't even say good cop bad cop. It's I guess they're not that different. It's just Sam wears his Max on the inside kind of thing. um, the best way to put it is not from me. Is from Steve Purcell, the creator of Sam and Max, starting originally with the comic books. Again, we'll get into all this stuff later, possibly. But he put it really well as far as like summarizing who Sam and Max are. He basically said Sam is the guy that we are, while Max is the guy that we want to be. So it's
I like that.
there is a Max in all of us, and Sam just has the wherewithal to put on a public face.
Oh boy. So yeah, and it's a game that appeals to all ages. I had my 11-year-old playing it along tandem with me, and he was discovering stuff about the game that I didn't discover. Little things like, for example, you keep trying to pick something up and you'd be like, I can't pick that up. I really can't pick that up. That's too heavy. I can't pick that up. Why do you keep trying to make me pick that up? And then all of a sudden Sam starts like whining, and then it just says, you cannot pick up object number 158. And then Max is like, oh, you broke Sam. And then every time you click on it, he'll just whine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I never, and that's like, and every single item that he can do that little thing with is labeled. So it'd be like, cannot pick up object number 137. It's freaking right off, just totally busts that wall and plays with you. He's just like, oh man, maybe that mean jerk out there will stop trying to make you do that. It's like, oh, they really are talking to me.
Yeah, it's my favorite type of fourth wall breaking. And I'm kind of more just on the fence about, like, it depends on how it's executed. We did an episode about that to break down feelings. In other words, I'm not a sucker for it. I can be a little critical of it. So hopefully that gives the littlest bit of weight to me saying they nailed the fourth wall on this, because it's I don't know. I don't want to say relentless, but it definitely doesn't stop, and it's consistent. It's consistent, but it's like they do it in a way that's like doesn't wear you down. Like sometimes it can. It's really clever because they're more. I don't know. I don't know if I'm brave enough to say it's subtle, but it's really well done.
Oh man, I feel like I'm just going to blurt everything out I want to say, like, and I do have critiques. I'm not going to say it's a perfect game, but even though it's been a really long time since I played it, like, it throws you into the fun right away. Like, you're literally going to a carnival first with
Right.
freaks and everything. It is like, that's one of my favorite things. And it's like, oh yeah, you're not going to go do boring stuff. We're going to throw you right into the action right away. And
Yeah.
because it's not a Sierra game, no offense, love Sierra games, but because it's not a Sierra game, I can kind of relax. I know I'm not going to make a mistake. I know I'm not going to be in an unwinnable situation. Like, there's a few times I'd be playing it and I was like, oh man, if this was a Sierra game, I'd totally be restoring because I'd be screwed.
Yeah. That's so true. It's like I need both in my life. I need sometimes I need to feel risk, like a little risky, or just a little fear of consequence, a little daring, whatever, and sometimes I want to just feel safe and go for a ride. And this game it just nails it. It is such a fun ride, and I love the idea that the kind of the centric idea, I guess you could say, of using a road trip to stop at like quirky American not truck stops, but highway, bloody weird things on the highway. Is there a name for that? Doesn't matter. Circuses, balls of yarn. It's all in the wheelhouse there. It's just like, just that if you were to pitch a game, that's a great pitch. Like, it's rabbit and a dog. They're going to drive around the country and stop at a bunch of wacky things that our country has on the side of the road for some reason. Be like, I'm in.
And so many more things than you think. Like, there's so many places. Like, you think you're done the game. There's still 6 more places you haven't seen yet, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it and to pay compliment to LucasArts, something they do really well, and adventure games are better off for it, is when you feel kind of like you're globetrotting. You get that vibe in Fate of
Mhm.
Atlantis, which I get that's
Mhm.
more appropriate to say globetrotting because it's international. It doesn't matter. I mean, nationally trotting, it doesn't sound as nice, right? The point is like you feel like you're setting off on adventure, which is the name of the thing. So
Mhm.
it's a good feeling probably to have if you're doing that thing. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's a weird way to describe that. I'm just trying to say I like that I feel adventurous when I can choose where in the world to go.
Mhm. Exactly. Or what is it they say in the game? It's places like this that make me wish I was Canadian. They have a place like this, but half of it's French.
Yeah. I forgot about the Canadian border between us when we were going through that. Now, yeah,
Mhm.
now,
Yeah, a
now I
little
want
bit.
to dissect that a little bit. So, through the eyes of a Canadian.
I grew up getting American history, so I felt right at home in this game. I tell you, that's all we get. I mean, in Canada, we're not allowed our own history, right? There's a ban on that. They're just like, no, no, American history only because there's more of it. And it makes sense. I mean, Americans keep track of history so well. And I kind of, oh, this is political, I guess, but I kind of wish we as Canadians were a little bit as proud of our heritage as some of the Americans are. I want to tell stories like that, but it's all right. Tradition starts with every new generation. So.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Yeah, I had several arguably witty things I wanted to say, but I'm like a little afraid any of them are the least bit offensive. So I'm just going to go ahead and not.
Yeah, it's not.
So
It's
you're welcome.
anyways, it's great in the game. I like that you go to those three different the Snuckies, right? And then all of them are like just slightly different, and then you can get like a slightly different touristy thing from it. And like everything about that parallel universe where everything's just about almost the same. It's kind of eerie. I like that part of the game too. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. No, this game I think it had more of an impact on me personally than I gave it credit for originally because
Mhm.
there's a lot of things this game did that really stuck with me, like the way Sam and Max play off of each other. It's
Mhm.
I didn't think about this before the episode, so I'm hesitant to say it, but just off the cuff, like it's probably the best duo I can think of. I'm not thinking of many. I'm
Mhm.
more just panicking, trying to think of things.
Mhm.
But it doesn't matter about ranking. It's done really well. Where like you have fun with both of them. Neither of them. Sometimes with like duos, like one of them's like too much of a downer, like too serious or
Mhm.
too logical or rigid or whatever. It's like they're both really fun, but like
Mhm.
different enough. I don't know. They're just done so well. And I really, to your point, I really like the road stop truck stop place that's crazy. The 3D. I'm struggling for words. The trippy place.
Yeah, me too. The
The
vortex thing.
vortex is okay. Yeah. Like what is that? I'm looking, trying rummaging around for the map, trying to see what it's officially called.
Which place do you mean? Do you mean the place that with the upside down?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the vortex.
the vortex
Because
is
remember that
is
it has the ride at the end. You can go on the ride in the vortex, and that's kind of how you sort out that section later on. And you meet the other mole man, but he's like a Technicolor mole man in like a
yeah.
secret
He's super
area in
trippy.
the
Yeah,
with the magnets and the mirrors. All the puzzles in this game were designed not to be assholes.
yeah. That's a really good point.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
even the like magnets and just plugs and plugs, all of them were logical. I felt good solving them and they didn't make me like I didn't really have to run to Google for this game. It kind of flowed. So.
it did. It did. I struggled with the you're at the top of the ball of yarn.
Mhm.
I can't remember the exact puzzle. Unfortunately, I was going to say before recording this was the one area I knew I'd be weak on because I've
Mhm.
played this game twice in the last year, but like
Mhm.
3 months ago ish, like just that amount of time for me to just the vision just gets enough blur to not really know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Like I
Mhm.
remember there was a puzzle at the yarn ball, but the details have escaped me. Point is, the puzzles are really fair. I only had one little bit of trouble that was memorable, and obviously not that memorable. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah. All right, so it's an exciting game. We're getting excited. We're kind of all over the place, just saying things that we like about it because really, what else did you expect? This is
Yeah.
consistent. This is on brand for us. But I'm gonna slow us down and kind of. I'm not gonna slow us down. I'm gonna start us over, bloody, not all the way over. Look, I'm gonna say different things. All right, so um, for those of you who haven't played it, it's the basic idea of that's the plot, right? It's your Sam
Mhm.
and Max, you're the freelance police, right? That came from the comic book that Steve Purcell created. We'll go into Steve a little bit later, but I will just pause and say that Steve has done a lot of amazing things. A lot of the box art that you probably adore on the LucasArts side was him,
Mhm.
could have been him. Um, and he's worked on a lot of different projects, but I think most notably that I'm aware of, or maybe just that's my favorite outside of Sam and Max stuff, is he was the director and creative lead for Toy Story: The Time Forgot, which was like a 30-minute Toy Story short. And that's a big deal to have, creative lead and to direct a Pixar film, albeit a short one, is
Mhm.
he probably wins that trophy as far as the "Where Are They Now" thing in that office.
Yeah, because he didn't do in a lot of the work he did with Pixar, I think he only co-directed Brave, but otherwise, he was mostly just voice roles and other, a little bit of story art.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's funny. I'm glad you mentioned Brave because even though he didn't have full reign like Toy Story Before Time, that was like a feature length, so that might arguably
Mhm.
be his biggest thing.
Mhm.
I know the movie's kind of for me, so maybe it's a personal reason I left it out. Turning a cheek
Well,
to
the
it.
voice roles, that's pretty cool too. I mean, Cars, Ratatouille, who hasn't heard of that? Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4. It's all kind of,
Yeah,
I mean, even if he's just doing like voices and other, that's a myriad of things. Like there's a lot in the word other outside of the director, writer, and story artist. Kind of leaves it
exactly.
pretty open, but yeah.
You can tell that the people at Pixar probably adore him, and that he's also multi-talented. So they bring him in each film to throw in
Mhm.
an odd 5 or 6 voices and lines, I guess, as we're
You can
left to
see that
imagine.
sort of senior creative team as such.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And I will say it's really fun to if you haven't seen Toy Story Before Time and you don't have kids, I don't know what to tell you. Do you guys even watch that stuff? I guess I probably wouldn't. I guess I wouldn't. I'm not sure. The feature lengths, yeah, maybe because it's Pixar and we're all kids inside. But I don't know if I'd watch like their shorts. And it doesn't matter. Check it out because at least on iTunes, or I guess it's Apple TV now. The bloody
Mhm.
Apple version of it. I can't guarantee the rest, but the Apple version has a long 30-minute behind the scenes documentary of them
Hmm.
making it, and Steve Purcell is 80% of that, because it's his
Mhm.
project, so he's in a lot of it. And for me, it was my son watched it a lot a couple of years ago, and like he'd start playing with toys or fall asleep, and I'd just kind of be in a situation where I had to just keep watching it over and over again. But it was really cool to just as somebody I admire from Sam and Max to see him leading a big Disney project out there in the big
Mhm.
world.
Yeah, and again, this is the common thing with these games. I didn't know even the name Steve Purcell when I played the game as a kid because I didn't know about the comics. The show wasn't on in Canada. It was just like a game in my LucasArts collection. And of course, they didn't do the featurette that Sierra would do about developers. So, like, you wouldn't even know until later, like until I started researching and going, oh, holy cow, like, look at all this going on behind this show. Look at who's made it, like, and what else he's done, right? Because he's done cover art for other games like Tales of Monkey Island and all sorts of other stuff. So it's just as fascinating. I really wish, if I could wish anything about LucasArts, that they would have pushed a little bit more about the individual creatives behind the George Lucas name.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a really good point because yeah, the Sierra ones became celebrities to us, on a nerd level, and and I mean
Hmm.
just really on on any level, because there's seeing Steve Purcell pop up in that Toy Story film the first time for me was
Hmm.
like a crazy, like I got like a crazed celebrity mania feeling. I'm like, oh my god, I
Hmm.
know him, and that's like he was so important to me because of Sam and Max the game, not the comics
Hmm.
even, just the point and click game, that I was like flipping out excited to see it was him. Um, but yeah, yeah. So anyway, we could touch back on him a little later. We can get into the comics in the show, but for now, I'll finish my recap of the plot, which I started like 45 minutes ago, and say that the game, the freelance police, right? They got a detective-y vibe. They're hired to go all across the country, and I'm sorry, everybody. I was just reading that off of Wikipedia, and I don't know why, because I know it, and it would just sound a lot more fluid and natural if I just said what I knew instead of reading what I know. So they're freelance police. They get hired because Bigfoot goes missing along with Trixie, who's a long necked woman from Scranton, and yeah, they're hired to find her. She gets taken from a carnival, I guess you could say, right? Carnival, and
Yeah, they got her and Bruno. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Bruno's the name of the Bigfoot, and yeah, so Sam and Max just whole lot of tomfoolery goes on between this sentence and the end one, which is they do a good job if you finish the game, but it's a lot of fun. The plot matters in this game for sure. The story is completely bonkers, but in a great way. It's in a way that like they know it is, so it's okay. They got it under control.
Yeah, and they you almost think it's going to be over, and you've literally got like a quarter of the game still left. Like you actually accomplish your thing. You've rescued who you're supposed to rescue, and the story's still going. It's not the end. It was such a delight for me to remember that there was more to it after that point.
Yeah, exactly. And something's got to be said. Going back to something you mentioned in passing a few minutes ago, just clicked in my head for some reason. Is something has to be said for the fact that you played it with your child, and I played it with mine. And in my case, my son was it was recent, so he's like 6.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And for a 6-year-old to sit through a point and click adventure game in one sitting, which took like 3 hours.
Yep.
And again, to a 6-year-old, 3 hours is like 9 hours. It's like dog
Exactly.
years. It's really impressive because he's fully in the generation of like just quick cuts and like 30-second videos. I was gonna say Vines, but that would make me sound old because they're done already. It turns out now it's TikTok,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. The point is like he's used to things begging for his attention, much less a nice slow paced point and click adventure game. I don't know why I went country there. I'm so sorry. It's not
Because you were
intentional,
thinking
but
about Conroy Bumpus. That's all
yeah,
right. There's a lot of
yeah,
country in the game. It kind of fits.
exactly. But yeah, he had a blast with it. Obviously, the talkie version strategically on my part to keep him immersed. But I what I'm doing in a long-winded fashion is suggesting that you play it with your child
You
because
do it
this
because
6-year-old liked
any
it.
age.
It's a fact.
If a
Yeah,
6-year-old like it and an 11-year-old, you've hit the range. And Jacob was taking screenshots all over the place because he thought it was hilarious. And he'd come and find me if I wasn't in. He's like, "Oh, Mom, you have to see this." But then the game would like not show it again until it does. You have
yeah,
to do the whole like transaction over. He's like, "Oh man, I got to restore. You got to see it." He was so into it and so excited by it that it made me excited by it. So we were like competing who could get further in the game. And but
yeah.
what happened to him was he got overwhelmed by the inventory items as the load started to get really big, and you have like 15 or 20 things to navigate. And then I was like, no, buddy, you got to start inventory combining, and you got to start trying to click everything on everything. And that when it started to get more tedious, he just wanted to watch me finish the game at that point.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, like this is some, end of the inning, end of the ninth in baseball terms. This is the end game. Like
Mhm.
this is where the adventure gamer just starts, throwing Hail Marys. Just click the
Yeah.
shit on all the
Yeah, everything on everything. And I guess the one advantage, okay, advantage and disadvantage. Disadvantage, I want to see all the things when I click on the things. I want it to give me a description. This game is very closed-ended. You can pretty much only look at what you're going to interact with or interact with it in the way that you can and not do anything else. But at the same time, it streamlines the game because there's only like 2 hotspots in the whole screen, say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the price you pay, and then there's the little reward for. Yeah, and it's like you said, it's I'm glad that this game and honestly some others LucasArts games are like that, because it's like sometimes I just want the opposite. I just want comfortable and like in this case streamlined. But I have noticed that LucasArts titles do. I don't want to say they have less flavor text. I think they do, but I'm not sure, so I don't want to say it. But like
I would
I think
agree. But yeah.
I feel like the flavor text they have is very deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
There's no surprises. There's no like, whoa, that actually said something. It's like you know what you're supposed to look at, and the thing says the thing as it should. Which
Mm-hmm.
is not a critique. It's just a different style. And like you said, it's a style I find refreshing and nice sometimes, where it's like you don't feel like an almost obligation to explore the whole thing. You can just enjoy the story and be done.
Yeah, and you haven't missed anything, and even if you have, you can just go back and get it later. So.
Yeah, it's funny because the LucasArts only players right now are probably thinking in their head like, so why isn't this what you prefer? Like you're just describing the most lovely of situations, a splendid evening,
Uh,
really. Like,
if
yeah, you
I
can
could,
just if you mess
if
up,
I
you
can
just go back.
describe, if I can describe how disappointing that was when I was younger, though, I mean, I remember that I'm literally sitting there at the end of a game, like say Sam and Max. I'm shaking my head and I'm going, that was way too freaking easy.
Yeah, yeah. It all comes down to me. It's down to consequence. Like consequence feels like the stakes are raised. It feels like there's a risk, and if you pull off the risk, you get that dopamine kick, and if you don't, you
Hmm.
get super mad. But that's the reason we like getting frustrated, because when you beat something that's frustrating, you get a dopamine hit that's just a little bigger than one that if you didn't have to work for it would be a lot bigger.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
exactly.
sometimes the frustration outweighs that, and I get that too. So, but that's where we're coming from. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I just wanted to mention too. This is more before I forget. I'm really shoehorning this in because I've forgotten it a few times. Is that this was the first time that they used I guess arguably. Well, no, it's not even argue. It's not a verb coin, but they didn't use 9 verbs. It would
Hmm.
be a much cleaner way to say it. There's no 9 verb.
Yes.
Classic Scum layout. Obviously, it's made in Scum, or not obviously, but it's not. It is made in Scum.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought that was kind of cool. They stepped away from that, then they kind of went back to it, and then they did this again with the dig, and never went back to verbs after the dig. But
Hmm.
this was like their feet in the water, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
What's your
Yeah,
what
I
are your
liked it.
thoughts on that? We've never really talked about the nine verb system before. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I thought there was a few too many. Like some of the other games have simplified a little. I mean, you're kind of like you're using everything, like push, pull. What was it?
Right.
What were the other ones? Like there was. I think there could have probably been about two less. Really, am I being fussy? I love parser games, so I have no right to be saying this at all. But yeah, I think it could have been streamlined a little bit. I do like the system in Sam and Max. It is super straightforward. It does work for me. I mean, pictures are easier than words.
Yeah, it's well, I guess to your point about was there too many? That's a good question. I think at first it looks overwhelming, but after like
Mhm.
20 minutes, you're like, oh, all I'm doing is looking and using. So
Mhm.
it's like,
Mhm.
and then there's ones that are in each LucasArts game. Don't quote me on this. So just by feel, this is what it feels like. All right, I'm not sure that there's like one or two or more that are in there that you use specifically like twice a game. It's like
Mhm.
like they'll be like, oh, there's this one scene we really need to give somebody something. So like, all right, let's
Mhm.
let's just put a give in there. That'll be one of our. I guess what I'm saying is I think some of the extra ones are in there are just used like once or twice in the game, but like if there isn't a word for it, it's not going to happen. So they got to put it in there.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I like I like to answer. I guess I think my own question on that. I like the 9 verb a lot. It's.
Mhm.
I don't like it more than point and click, but I like it.
No.
I like it maybe as much. It's I don't know. It's fun. It's got maybe there's something about it that's got like an old school, just maybe a purely nostalgia feel to it that's just satisfying. Like it feels like you're working for it a little bit. Like not quite on parser
Mhm.
level, but
Mhm.
yeah, it feels a little more adventurous.
Mhm. Yeah, I like them. I had a hard time with Maniac Mansion when I was younger. I think I remember I had a hard time finishing it until a little bit later on too. So maybe I was it was probably easier than I made it out to be. Maybe I just came across it at a difficult time. But some of the LucasArts games in the beginning weren't exactly, super easy compared to these later ones.
No, no. The first three specifically were very hard. I mean, Zack McCracken was officially very hard, and Indy 3 was, yeah, the Zeppelin and the hallways of the castle, they're a real pain in the dick. Those are officially hard.
Yeah.
And
Steve
then
did work on that Zack McCracken game too. He did art for that.
did the cover, right?
Oh, no, he did the cover of Maniac Mansion.
Oh, very
He
cool.
did art in the actual Zack McCracken game.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I just had a fleeting memory of Steve Purcell doing it. I think he did a real short animation in Loom that I saw in a
Yeah.
documentary.
I think he
Not
did something with Loom, and he did some stuff. He did research into whips for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
that's that's why I really enjoyed the documentary of the Toy Story Before Time with Purcell, because there's a lot of that where like they go out into a field with a PVC pipe and a bowling ball on each end and have like this giant hulking Spanish dude. They specifically mention he's Spanish in the thing. Have him like enact what a giant dinosaur would be doing if he was swinging like a. It's not a mace. I don't know what it is. It's what it sounds like, basically.
Yeah.
And but that sounds like the same kind of field research as researching whips. Like that just means like going to the store, buying a bunch of whips with your friends, and videotaping you cracking them off. Bam.
Yep.
Working hard.
Exactly. It's beautiful. That's like I have a friend of mine. She did Baba Yaga for me. She sculpted it, and she also sculpted me the hut on chicken legs. And she went to the grocery store and bought like chicken legs so she could bring it home and
Nice.
research them. But she said, you can only use one for so long, so keep them in the fridge. It was a thing. But anyways, I always appreciate people that do real field research, and that's what I would consider that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of fun sounding.
You can celebrate with a fur on the rocks, which is one of the drinks. Well, yeah, it was in the Salmon Max. I don't even know if they meant for it to be a drink, but it certainly sounds like it when you would order at a bar, doesn't it? Fur on the rocks.
Yeah, it really does. There's a lot of great lines, great one-liners in this game, and that both characters deliver them, which is really important. I think that's what I was touching on earlier. There's a lot of duo things where like one of the two is just dead in the water. Like you don't get anything good from him. He's the straight-laced guy, and it's like, all right, but I mean, make them fun too. Sam makes it awesome with that.
Yeah, they did like, and just I was just writing down lines everywhere in this. I'm like the enchanted Argyle forest when you're at Frog Rock, and then there was like the picture of like the forest and all the trees are like Argyle. I'm like, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, the trippy part of the game is it comes out of nowhere. The game kind of gets more mad as it goes on. Like the ending is kind of complete chaos. I guess spoilers now for the ending. But like I don't know when you should skip ahead to. Like I can't be of much more help than that. Like you might skip ahead a few minutes and we're still going from here on out. So the very very ending when you how do you describe it even? But when you complete the last totem, that's a
yeah. After you complete the last totem, and then there's like a double ending for Conroy technically because it's his ending, and then you literally give him like a second ending, which is super satisfying.
Yeah. That was very well played. And then the trees just sprout up all over the country.
And then it shows like Pike Place Market in Seattle, and all of a sudden there's like trees everywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to help it make sense, but it didn't give me enough to work with. It's just trees just burst up out of everywhere.
And then they're like, that was natural but destructive. And you're like, yep.
Yeah, they definitely has the twist of like, nature is beautiful and, Mother Earth heals herself and stuff, but it's like people's lives are being ruined right now. It's just, violently ripping out of the ground these redwoods. But it's just a bonkers ending. It's not it ends the story like it does everything it's supposed to do. It's allowed to be bonkers. It's not a critique. Like you get the ending that you just said with Conway. You completed the job, and they're just they just decided to presumably smoke some hash and write the ending, I guess, because it's just super out there.
Well,
But it's great.
it just carries on. It's satisfying. Even like the credits are rolling, and that's satisfying because they're shooting at the shooting range, and then it keeps going, and then they're like, special thanks to our high school counselors, the very big toy store down the street, and George Lucas. And then it's like, okay, it's over. And then it's like, no, really, it's over. And then it's like, we're leaving. And then everything disappears, and then the whole screen goes blank. And then it comes back on, and they're like, okay, we lied. And then it just endlessly sits there. And like,
Yeah.
I'm just right up until that last second, it's what you want. It's like you finish something and you want that feeling of satisfaction. Your T's have been crossed, your I's have been dotted, and you get something fun at the end that like is like a little Easter egg, kind of like that. So I felt, even though it was like a bit wild and weird, yeah, I really had a lot of fun. I'm so glad that I was able to finish it again, like on my own too.
Yeah.
I felt pretty good. I'm like, man, this is a LucasArts game. If I need to like cheat to figure this one out, I got no patience anymore.
Yeah,
But it did get
exactly.
a bit tedious at the end when you're trying to do the totem poles, right? You're just like, oh my God, I got to figure out 4 things.
Yeah, you know it's coming. You can feel like it's got once you get to the motel to the what is it? Yeah, I guess it's
Hmm.
like a motel. Once you
Hmm.
get there for the where they're having their little party and conference, it's you just you know it's going to get as convoluted as LucasArts gets, which is not very
Hmm.
much.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's a little frantic.
Hmm.
It's still not the word. Doesn't matter. Anyway,
No,
um,
it's a bit wild. Yeah, there's a lot.
yeah, and it's they set the tone immediately. Like you get exactly what they warn you. Like it's just this is going to be, for the third time, the bonkers. That's the only word I got for it. It's you know just yeah, crazy things need descriptions like bonkers and bananas. It's just it's really fun. The art style is perfect. Like it.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Sorry, I said that like I'm going to edit it out, but I'm not. Excuse me. Hold on a second. Um, it's got the not exactly like Day of the Tentacle, but in the sense that like the buildings, and to a
Hmm.
degree Monkey Island, but how the buildings have the flow, kind of rubberiness to them. Um,
Yeah. That
the
was in my
animation.
notes actually. Day of the Tentacle kind of is the one I would compare it the closest to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's like hints of it, I think, in Monkey Island, but yeah, those two are just they go full
Hmm.
bendy, and I love it. I think it's just awesome
Hmm.
Pixar style,
Hmm.
just art style in general, and that brings me to this subject. It's not actually in the notes I didn't make for this show, because I played this a lot this year. Didn't need them, arguably. In hindsight, I don't know. Brings me to the point that I'm really surprised there hasn't been a remaster of this one yet. And I know Tim
Hmm.
Schafer. Quick backstory on that, real quick, will be that there's been a remaster of the Monkey Islands, and there's been a remaster of Day of the
Hmm.
Tentacle by Tim Schafer's fine team over at Double Fine, yeah,
Hmm. Double Fine, yeah.
yeah, and
Who
I think
Steve Purcell has worked with them, I think Double Fine as well. So.
oh nice, I didn't know that. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think Schaefer was asked specifically after Full Throttle, the other remaster I failed to mention a second ago. So that's all of them. The two Monkey Islands, Day of the Tentacle, and Full Throttle all got the remasters. And I think Schaefer was asked why there wasn't a Sam and Max, and it wasn't like a dead end. He was just like, yeah, just I got to get the permissions and blah blah blah. So
Mhm.
so perhaps when he's finished wrapping up his sequel, um, which is I'm guessing somewhat soon, maybe
Mhm.
we could still kind of hold hope for a remaster of this, because I like the remasters, so I can switch it to pixel art and just
Yeah,
play it.
that's exactly what I do too, man, every time.
But it's fun to switch back and forth every now and then, like 8 times in the game, just to have the
Mhm.
ability to quickly switch it back and be like, whoa, trippy, and then switch it right back to pixel art. That's why I spend the $20 anyway.
Mhm. Oh,
But
that's right.
anyway,
It
I'm
was
all for it.
no, it
Sorry.
was the other one. He didn't. No, he didn't work with Tall Tale Games, right? He worked with that other one where they went and they did the new Sam and Max. He worked with that company. What were they called? The company
Oh,
that's no longer
Telltale.
out there. Yeah. Oh, it was them. Okay.
Yeah. Telltale did the 3D Sam and Max ones,
Right, because
which
they did
which are
that with him, which I didn't realize.
oh, that's good. That's good. He does seem very very hands on with anything Sam and Max related.
Yeah, well, considering, I mean, we haven't really talked about that, but it goes back to his own childhood. I mean, this isn't something that he made up for LucasArts. This is something that was kind of a part of him and his brother's life for a long time.
In his brother's life?
Yeah, was it? Oh yeah, right. We're not editing much. Yeah, I read all about this earlier, but I didn't take any notes. And I'm like, yeah, this is really interesting. And yeah, now I have no idea what that was about. So we'll
Well,
come back to that.
no, we won't. You know what? That's on you guys. If you want to
Yeah,
if you want to learn
you want to
about it,
look into that? Yeah,
you get a teaser. It's like if your curiosity piqued a little, like his brother, buddy, have at it. Maybe let us know.
yeah. Tell us all about this. Oh, hang on. Here we go. Hang on, brother. There it is. The characters of Sam and Max were created in his youth. Purcell's younger brother, Dave, originally came up with several comics around the idea of a dog and rabbit detective duo, but he would leave them unfinished around the house, deliberately making characters, mixing up each other's names, doing each other, and kind of mocking. So it was the two of them when they were kids, and they ended up sort of coming up with the idea.
That is so wholesome. All right.
I love
And
it. Yeah, it
yeah,
makes me happy.
yeah, I'm glad you shared that with us after all.
See, it was worth it. You just had to wait. I knew it was out there.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was younger then. It
Yeah,
was
long
many
time ago.
many seconds ago. Yeah.
But yeah, it
Uh,
was a double thing, right? They were working together, but then his brother Dave ended up giving Steve the rights to the character. He signed them over on a contract on Steve's birthday so he could develop them in his own way. And clearly, that happened. I mean, he spent his whole life with these characters now. I mean, not to say age or anything, but he's like almost 60, right? So that's a legacy for sure.
yeah, absolutely. There's a new Sam and Max VR game that either just got released or is just about to. So it's
Yeah, I
still
was reading
going.
about that.
Yeah. That's all I'm gonna
So
do
cool.
because I don't have a VR.
No, I'm the newest technology I have is a PlayStation 3, and that's only because I got it at a garage sale and it was in a box with all of its games and the sign said $20. I'm like, "Holy shit, I got to buy this." And I go to pay the lady. I give her a $20 bill. She gives me $10 back and says, "Thanks, have a nice day." I'm just like, "Okay." But
Wow.
then I've never played it. It's like the newest system I have. I'm too scared of it, so I put it there and it wants to update and connect to my internet. I'm like, I don't even understand.
That's so authentic to a classic game show host. I didn't plug in the
Yeah.
new thing because it scared me.
Yeah, it was much too new. People are talking about PlayStation 5s. I'm like, I can't even comprehend that. So,
Can you put Scum VM on it? It would
yeah,
be.
where's that's the main thing. Anytime you get anything new, it's like, all right, how well does it run Scum? Okay,
Yeah,
we're good.
because it runs on the Switch. I will get a Switch instead. I'm just saying. Um,
Exactly.
that's exactly what I did. But anyway, I wanted to say about the Cinemax show because we started the show off by saying that the game is free right now, which it is,
hmm
but just not right now, if you know what I
Not
mean.
your now, our
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, what is time? Let's all just take a time out and have an existential crisis. No, what I'm trying to say is that the cartoon show, which Anna, I'm going to hand it over to you in a second to start us off on
Mhm.
that. For some reason, it sounds like something like somebody a host would say, right? You're gonna. It doesn't matter. Things I would cut if I was editing this.
Yeah. A whole
For
new world.
500, Alex
Okay.
Trebek. Yeah, this is all the stuff that would get cut. Welcome to the Patreon special. All
Yeah,
right.
you get
Anyway,
to hear all the insider. Yeah.
yeah. You know, it's not great, but it is technically behind the scenes. All right.
hmm
Anyway, there's a cartoon series, Sam and Max Hit the Road, and it's so good. And I'm not.
hmm
Yeah, you're gonna get us started on that. That's how I got us into this mess. I'm sorry, but
It's okay.
that is sort of free right now, right? So
hmm
here's the deal. I personally I purchased the DVDs, which you can do, and that's just the little big box person in me where it's like, there's a box out there with Sam and Max, and I want to see the show, so I'm gonna buy it. So you got to buy the box version. So I did, but then you got to like rip the DVDs. It's a pain in the dick. So the other option is you can just
hmm
buy it on Amazon Prime, and everybody's got
hmm
that. Maybe a lot of you have that access to that, I should say, because it's not free on Amazon Prime. You do have to buy it, so you don't need Prime.
hmm
I feel like they need to change the name of one of those two things. It's very confusing because it's like it's on Amazon Prime. Oh, it's free? No, because some of
No.
Amazon Prime isn't free sometimes. It's all just a bit weird. But anyway, it is free, the animated series, if you're one of the 6 people listening that subscribes to Tubi. I don't know what Tubi
Okay.
is. I think it's a streaming service that's going to die soon. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're signed up and you're like, oh shit, I am signed up to Tubi. I'm glad he said that because I was going to cancel it and I forgot to.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I know Sam and Max is free, I'm going to watch that before canceling it. So
Well, it's great. I don't know if there's more than one season. There's at least one season of 13 episodes. I have a VHS tape of one episode, and and that's about it.
yeah, you
But
sent me a picture.
luckily, yeah.
So that's
Mhm.
just one episode.
Yeah, it's just what is it, the iFiles or whatever it's called. But yeah, it's the only one that I have. One episode on one VHS tape.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, the
I
Y.
thought
No, never mind. The Y files. Okay, it's 4. I'm looking at the tape here. Sam and Max versus the Uglians, the invaders. They came from down there in the trouble with Gary.
okay,
Yeah, because there's 3 compilations. You've got the Y files, you've got All Creatures Great and Small, and then you've got Come Fly with Me.
right, because it's VHS and that's all they could fit on there. I remember the days
Hmm.
of the compilations, but now they're just like,
That's right.
here's the history of the world on a CD. It's crazy. It's a really good show. It's so like authentically an early 90s Saturday morning cartoon vibe, but like it's not
Mhm.
cheap. It's
Mhm.
this is the important thing to take away.
No.
Why I think that most of our listeners will benefit from watching it is because it's not like somebody got the rights to the name and did a shitty job. Because that's what most of
Mhm.
this stuff is, right? Especially video games.
Oh yeah.
It's authentic Sam and Max. It is like it feels like the cutscenes in the game. I don't know the comic
Mhm.
at all.
No.
I have like a PDF of one of them that I never read as far as that goes, but like it's just it feels like the cutscenes in the game. It feels like Sam and Max. It's really really
Mhm.
good.
Mhm. Yeah, totally go out and watch it. The show's funny, it's quirky, and I mean, literally, you're playing the game for the cutscenes. The game's fun, but the cutscenes are amazing, and it's like watching a cartoon. So it's all the satisfaction without any of the clicking.
Yeah. And at this time, I'd actually like to publicly apologize for bashing Tubi earlier. I feel like I was a little hard on it. Maybe it just got started. It's doing its best, and it didn't need that from me. Putting that out there. So Tubi, I'm sorry. And if you have Tubi, what's that like? I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I guess we'll just have to find out whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. But again, okay, so it's free on Tubi. If you have that, you could just you get out of jail free. You can just watch it like now. If not, you're
Hmm.
gonna have to spend money. But it's worth it. I think it's $20 for season 1 on Prime. Just
Hmm.
do it, or at least get one episode of it. Actually, I don't benefit in any way from you doing it or not. So I'm just gonna
No,
back off a
just
little.
do what I do and continue looking for VHS tapes at thrift shops, which is where mine came from.
Yeah, yeah,
It just might
yeah,
take longer. That's all.
yeah.
So.
Do it that way because there are lottery odds that you'll find one before you
I can't
perish.
believe I can't believe I found one. I also found all the Red Dwarf episodes on VHS. It's like, does nobody want this stuff? It's amazing.
Yeah, that I'm surprised though, because that's all right. Well, that brings me to I was gonna say the kind of cult classic for Red Dwarf, and Sam and Max has a weird cult thing going on because
Mhm.
tell me if this is just an observation, but I feel like Sam and Max isn't anywhere close really to the most talked about game in
Mhm.
classic groups and point and click specific groups, LucasArts group, etc. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's talked about. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's underrated because it's not. That doesn't mean it's not good. That just means it's talked about as appropriately. Like
Mhm.
it is great, and we say it's great. Um, so like check. But anyway, it's you hear more about like Monkey Island, obvious. Well, kind of obviously, but like the Day of the Tentacle. Like I guess I'm just trying to say that the popularity on a kind of cult level of Sam and Max like memes and video, not memes so much as YouTube videos, and just I don't know, fandom is weird.
Mhm.
It's high. Like there's tons of different channels out there that just post clips of Sam and Max, just post videos of Sam and Max clips. And like
Mhm.
they're like, just the one I'm looking at right now is at 800,000 views.
Whoa.
And in adventure game language, that's just millions. Like
That is unbelievable. Wow. Is
some of
there a
our best
gigantic fan
videos have
base I'm missing
1,000
out on?
views. That's
Yeah.
what's weird, and
Jesus.
like they all have that number. I'm not looking at it right now, but like it's the reason I noticed it and so brought it up is because I do happen to notice every time I see one that the numbers are crazy high. They're way higher than
Mhm.
adventure game stuff gets.
Hmm.
Because again, a great adventure game video is 800 to 3,500 likes.
Yeah.
So like to talk, we're talking 800,000, and there's multiple in the twos and 300,000 views, and they're just little clips of Sam and Max doing things. So it's like people out there like are aware of them enough to where they get excited for the clips, but like I'm not even sure they probably just don't care to know where the clips came from. Like the clips is all they
Mhm.
need. But the point is there's a weird cult following of Sam and Max that just again from my observation doesn't seem to have anything to do with the gaming community. And I know that it's also been a comic book, but like it's been a long time since it was a comic book. And while it was extremely popular for an underground comic book, it still was kind of an
Mhm.
underground comic book. So, where you're not talking anywhere near like um, mass appeal kind of levels or whatever. It's just yeah. Anyway, my point is, I guess it's almost definitely not from the comic book. It's the clips, and the clips are of the games, of course. But
Mhm.
so yeah. Anyway, sorry that was a little rambly. My point is that
Oh.
there's a cult following for Sam and Max, and it's weird. And if you've noticed it and don't know any more about it, just validate me and say, "Dear Classic Gamers Guild at mail@classicgamersguild.com. I noticed that shit too." And then just send it,
Mhm.
and I'll be like, "Whew, thank you so much." Because it's a weird thing, and if you do know more about it, that I'd be really curious to know how it got a little fandom for game clips.
Mhm.
And as far as I'm aware, even the more modern Cinemax games aren't like on the cover of PC Gamer. What's going on? Okay, I'm done.
Well,
I'm done.
and oh, that's okay. That leads into like, okay, now you understand, dear listener, that we act the same whether we have 10 listeners, 100 listeners, or 10,000 listeners, as we probably will have now, because this being such a cult classic, it will whisk away our podcast, and all of a sudden, But my point to that is, we're the same either way. I wouldn't have put any more work into this for 10,000 listeners than I do for the 4 listeners that are listening to it now.
Yeah, no, the 9,500 potential more listeners you speak of,
Mhm.
are not enough.
No, nothing's enough to make me change who I authentically am as a classic gamer. That's
Yeah.
it.
We did our homework the night before, or studied for
Mhm.
the test. Right? All right, we didn't study for tests.
No.
Maybe more authentically, yeah. But anyway, if you don't mind, say things for a second because my son's singing a song. I'm going to mute myself.
No problem. I'm gonna tell one of the best jokes from the game. What is bigger than a bread box? Sam and Max. So, I mean, I'm really glad I had a minute to give that to you without any background noise. What
That
else
was
could I
fun.
say?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
could
that
have
was
came
fun,
back
right?
soon, but yeah, it's just I love when somebody does a good so. Just a
So,
good so. It's one of the little treats in life. It's so fun.
oh,
Um,
I got one here. Oh, the virtual reality game. I love it when he goes into the virtual reality game and he's fighting the dragon, and he's like, "Oh man, this looks kind of shitty." And I thought that was great because for me, back in about 1998, they opened up this virtual reality station downtown, and I got to go there, and they lowered this gigantic rig down onto my head, and I got into this land of like polygons, and I'm just like, "Oh, because it's like in your head, you've built it up like, I'm going to go in here and it's all going to be real and I can touch stuff. So, like, I felt that moment in the game.
yeah, oh, that's so true. I never looked at it that way, but that's brilliant because it's.
Mhm.
I mean, they more or less just kind of nailed it. I mean, that is what it looked like. It
It
wasn't.
was exactly that.
It didn't have like as much of a jokey palette color, palette
Mhm.
choice as far as like
Mhm.
Saturday morning cartoons. They tried to like darken it up and stuff, but it was still just cones and rods. It was not great.
No.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts of the game. It totally nailed that.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that.
It's weird that
So,
that
yeah.
still holds up, you know? I
Mhm.
mean, I guess 'cause
It's
they'll
true.
always have looked bad at the time, so it works, but it still feels fresh.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know that I have much else on this game. Did you have any more information you want to tell us about Steve?
Great guy, you know, maybe, probably. He's I don't. No, I mean, he's an interesting guy. He's super talented, and yeah, I guess I would just say check out that Toy Story: The Time Forgot
Mhm.
documentary thing if you know if you're a fan of Sam and Max because it's cool. And I don't know, I like that short film better because I knew he did it. Like I was looking for the him in it kind of thing. It just makes it more fun. Um, that sounded a little creepy. The last sentence I said, you know, looking for the him in it. It's kind of gross and weird, but we're doing it live. So
It's just happening, guys. You're gonna take it. Hey, oh, hang on. One other great thing. I love it. You're right after the frog walk and you're playing the game, and then one of them is like, "I wish this game were over," and then they like the screen completely goes black, and then it just says the end, like
yeah,
randomly in the middle of the game.
yeah. Yeah, they commit to their bits, and
Mhm.
that's probably my favorite thing about them. Like it's the perfect ingredient for just like two good personalities that you could put kind of anywhere, preferably a little wacky, and they're gonna
Mhm.
shine. And they have for
Mhm.
many games because people love the bloody Telltale games and so forth. I'm not that
Mhm.
versed on the modern Cinemax stuff. I probably should be, but this episode was specifically about hits the road, so I didn't have to be. Point
No.
is that those actually got really good reception because a lot of times reprisals, not so I guess reprisal, right? Not a remake, but when they
Mhm.
bring an old brand back, it's hard to
Mhm.
satisfy. It's hard to hit the notes that people want hit. And Cinemax, I don't. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but from what I looked at online, is really briefly, it seemed like critically acclaimed. I've bought them. I just haven't played them because they're so
Mhm.
3D.
I played the first because it's divided up into chapters. So I went and bought the first one when it came out and I played it because I was already a huge fan of the series and I really, really liked it. But because it was divided into chapters, I never ended up buying the other ones.
The downside to that system, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't like the chapters. I'd be curious about our listeners. Maybe we should do like a poll about it on Twitter or
Hmm.
something. But it's just
Hmm.
what how they feel about episodic things. See, but I won't do
Hmm.
that because that would be like a weird first poll to ever do, right? Like, why do they care so much about episodes? And
Got to start somewhere. I mean,
the answer is
do
I
you
kind of
like
don't.
classic games? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's very true.
It's like if you
Uh,
found this, you like them. That's
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, anyway, I'd be curious because I feel like classic gamers are more likely to be stuck in their ways than not. So I imagine a lot
Mhm.
of us are like, oh, of course I don't like episodes. Back in my day, you bought a game, you got a game. It's
That's right. I
just
mean, because it's like the Blackstone Chronicles that you played, that was actually based on an episodic series books, right? So that was based on books that were like these tiny little short books, but there was just a whole bunch of them. And then they took them and they all put them together and made them into one great big game without the episodes. Now that I like.
yeah, exactly. Because if you put an episode break in, you're basically just offering me the door.
Hmm.
You're just like
Yeah.
reminding me that I can leave and not come back.
Hmm.
I don't
It's
need
true.
that.
It's like I feel like I've finished it now. If I go back for the second one, I've just started it, so now I'm confused and I won't play.
Yeah, and there's so many games I want to play, need to play,
Hmm.
own, etc. That if
Hmm.
I feel the littlest bit of completion on your title, I'm gonna be like, cool, time to try the next one.
Hmm. Hmm.
I gotta be crazy hooked.
Yeah.
Um,
Or homework for the yeah, definitely homework for the show. I like it when somebody comes up and says, "Hey, can I use the computer?" I'll be like, "No, I'm working right now." And it's like, "It looks like you're playing a game." I'm like, "Yeah, working right now." I love it.
yeah, exactly. I'm working. This is
Go
how it
away,
works.
kid. You're bothering me.
See, I was feeling pretty New York when you said that too, for some reason. It's weird to have that vibe.
Let's
All right.
see.
Well, I've got. I don't really have much else. One thing I've written down is
Oh.
that I heard my own last name in this game. Oh, sorry guys.
That's all right. I didn't hear anything of my name in here in the game. Oh, wait. I'm supposed to entertain people while you do that. Right. So John Muir, he was a naturalist, and I actually originally thought he was Canadian for some reason, because it turns out there was a similar person with the same name who was doing some naturalist stuff in Canada, but it's a different person. So also
Wow,
a
I left you
political.
alone for like 30 seconds as soon as I hit mute. Well, let's
This is
talk
what
about
happens.
John Muir, born on a cattle farm in 1863.
1838, actually, in
Wow.
Scotland.
Just knocked my mic over when you said that. That was great.
Yeah. So that's what happens when you leave. I'm going to start teaching people stuff. This is not meant to be an edutainment podcast, so we're gonna lose subscribers. So be careful.
So just know every time I hit mute, you're gonna turn into Ben Shapiro or whatever that guy's name is.
Exactly.
I hope that's his name. I wanted to get that right.
I know. I try getting, and if everybody would bear with me, there are podcasts that really do well to research their information, but I like to rely more on the fans to tell us I've done something wrong. So if I've said something wrong, given misinformation or mispronounced something, feel free to write in. If I've done something right, well, you don't have to tell me. That's okay. But,
Yeah, a little more shoot from the hip, but I just realized that it's so not Ben Shapiro. So that joke just is not gonna land.
just didn't. That didn't. That's authenticity right there. And it's good to admit you've made a mistake.
I was wrong. Yeah, this is that controversial conservative guy, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I that's if I'm wrong about that, I don't know. I don't care.
Mhm.
But
So,
uh, Ben, the one I was trying to say was the really Ben. Dang it, Ben something. He's where he's like Ferris Bueller's teacher, and he's everything he
oh,
does.
Ben Stein.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew it was a Jew. We know each other.
Yeah.
I
Bueller.
just got my
Bueller.
Shapiros and Steins mixed up.
Hmm. And he did the red eye commercials for a while.
Yeah, that's
Clear
right.
eye. Yeah.
Um, all right. So what was I trying? I wasn't trying to say anything with that. We're good. Oh, I was gonna
Hmm.
say, my last name is in this game, and that excites me. That's for me. That's a
Hmm.
selfish thing. I need to get it out to somebody that'll know what all the context I'm talking about, and that's all of you guys. So there, I said it.
Hmm.
It's not a
That's
last name
pretty
you hear
cool.
a lot. It's just like,
Hmm.
sorry, Mr. Corman. I mean, it's with a C, but that's fine. I
Hmm.
mean,
I would take it.
one could argue that using the letter C in place of a letter that already does its own sound is kind of ridiculous, but that's just me. Because people are always like, I'm like Corman. They're like Corman with the C. I'm like, no, Corman with the one that sounds like K.
Hmm.
The K that
Yeah.
goes K. Why are we doing this with the C? Why does the C get to sound like a K? And then people
Yeah.
assume that the K is the C. Like, what do you mean? Why would you assume? All right, you know what?
C is
Lift
a
up
bit of an
about the letter C
imposter.
again.
No,
Sorry.
it's true. K is strong. I mean, even the C needs a K to sound like a K. I mean, all on its own. C's are often thinking they're S's.
Yeah, that's very true. They're always stepping on everybody's thing.
Hmm. Yeah, totally.
Well, here at the Classic Gamers Guild, we just hate the letter C.
This episode was not brought to you by the letter C, I assure you.
Every episode, they got to stop and just shit on the letter C. It's uncalled for. All right. Well, we've gone way longer than we even need to, so we can stop. I feel like we should stop.
The
You know,
reward for staying this long is us ending it. So,
yeah, we're
congratulations, you made it.
making the listeners feel antsy. They're like, "Ooh, I think I want to go." We're gonna do that for you. So thank you for listening. We really appreciate you guys. Sincerely, check us out. Join the discussion in the community. We're a page. We're a group. My son says goodbye to. Check us out on Facebook at Classic Gamers Guild. That's where we're a page and a group. Other places, just a page. What are those places? Instagram, Twitter. Do us a tweet. Do us a gram. Don't don't do it. Just at CGG Podcast. Find us at CGG Podcast on both of them places. Send us an email if you like. That'd be lovely. I really like them. Mail at classicgamersguild.com. become a Patreon supporter if you want to. That'd be cool. You don't have to. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters a little because it's like, ooh, we had a new Patreon. Like that moment matters. It's exciting. But if it doesn't happen, like I'm gonna be okay. I just want you to know that. So if you want to be a Patreon, be one. If you don't, that's cool. And if you are, thank you and I love you. I'm getting frantic because my son's getting whipped up right next to the microphone. Everybody that listens to the show, you know he's there. You hear him. We all act like you don't hear him, but you hear him. And I'm sorry. I love you guys. Thank you for putting up with it. I'm a single only parent, so like this is how it's got to be. And that's yeah, working it out. He's here just all the time. All right. To our Patreons in the extra special thanks tier, which would be Jay Holmes and Mark Fillion. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Sorry, so I'm reading notes as I'm saying that. We really appreciate you guys. Jay, love you, mate. Mark, check out your own game. Check out Mark's game. Hi, Mark. And then, check out Mark's game, The Chinatown Detective Agency on Steam. Wishlist it, download the demo. It's beautiful. It's going to be awesome.
Also, the Phantom Fellows, that's another game. I mean,
Yeah.
I know, that people should wishlist and download and things.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good call. I heard this from plucky young go-getters making that game. I just want to wish them the best and support the project by bloody wish listing it and then just obnoxiously telling everybody about it. Let it consume your life too, and and spread the good news, or whatever. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I said all the things I have to say, and that's it. Okay, don't do murder. Rough end.